Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Right Side Up. My name is Mike Taglavia. My co-host again today, thank goodness, is Allison Despathy. Allison, thank you for being with me.
Absolutely. I love to be here. Thanks, Mike.
So we're going to talk about a little bit about energy policy, climate policy. And the reason I say that is because with the events of the past year, we're seeing a lot going on with energy and climate policy. We're seeing more of actual real science finally come to the surface.
To balance out the narrative that's driven policy that's so dangerous.
Isn't that interesting? You brought balance. We were getting balance, more balance in the state of Vermont in the legislature.
Goal.
And hopefully we get a lot more
Yes.
with this next election.
Exactly.
And we're seeing it also in the country and across the world. More scientists are coming out with their explanation for what's going on in the world, and it's actually taking hold.
Yes.
We're having an actual real scientific debate.
Yes,
Isn't
which is
that
exactly
lovely?
what we need. We don't need extreme ideology guiding us or our policy.
Right.
Which is what's been happening in Vermont for quite some time, unfortunately.
Yes.
Yes.
So we've got on Thomas Shepstone's Energy Security and Freedom Substack, we've got an article here. Climate deniers are those who are forever falsely forecasting doom and gloom. Science has overtaken them. And this is a guest post from Vijay Jayarev, or Jayaraj, I'm sorry if I butchered that name, at CO2 Coalition. And CO2 Coalition, you can find it all over. You can find it on social media, and I think it's co2coalition.org, but I'm not 100% on that.
Yeah, they do great research.
He's got a great article. There was an article about this same subject in Wall Street Journal. It was pointed out to me, and I think I covered part of it on one of the other previous shows. But this is really important to talk about. I'm going to get deeper into the article, but it says this is not an academic housekeeping exercise. The discarded scenarios are embedded in the machinery that shapes energy bills, job projects, and the economic development of nations. Pielke points out that national climate impact reports in the United States, United Kingdom, Germany, Canada, Australia, Japan, and the Netherlands have relied on RCP 8.5 and SSP 5-8.5 as central reference cases. So there's actually monetary policy being used on, now we know, false data.
Right. And this is where the predictive modeling and all the problems with the predictive modeling come in, because it's guiding all of this that gets us into trouble.
Yes.
Right.
So the financial sector went even further. The Network for Greening and Financial System, a club of more than 140 central banks and supervisors, built its hothouse, quote-unquote hothouse world scenario on a risk profile calibrated to RCP 8.5, which they're now saying is very quietly, not so much.
Sorry, we may have been wrong. But by the way, we made a lot of money along the way.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people did. So
propaganda and investment go hand in hand, don't they?
This scenario has informed climate stress tests at the European Central Bank, the Bank of England, the Reserve Bank of New Zealand, Bank of France, and U.S. Reserve, influencing allocation of capital and the price of loans linked to fossil fuel projects. For many developing countries, these documents, like IPCC's assessment reports, are central to decisions on coal plants, pipelines, and other industrial development. When the underlying scenarios become, quote, officially implausible, end quote, the credibility of documents vanishes. You might expect this news to dominate front pages and primetime climate coverage. It has not. The narrative used to justify punitive energy policies ought to adjust. If it does not, you are witnessing a political agenda searching for new rationale.
Yes, and
now,
the captured
that's why
media.
Yes. So that's why I wanted to talk about this. Because what about policy, climate policy, in this state?
Yes, so bringing it back to Vermont, exactly.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
So we've got this stuff going on in
And I just
Vermont.
have to also add, as a science teacher and
Yeah.
someone who has a master's in human nutrition, who I deal with talking about carbon and teaching about carbon all the time, carbon's the building block of life.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness. So for carbon to be attacked in the way that it's been attacked, and for us to think that the Earth doesn't have systems to handle carbon is unbelievable.
It
But you
is.
see how a narrative based on predictive modeling gets hijacked, and then for investments in policy and for all this to be driven through. And obviously, Vermont has been very, very negatively impacted, starting with our Global Warming Solutions Act,
Yep.
passed over the governor's veto in 2020, and how this has then resulted in things like the Clean Heat Standard, which
Yep.
many of us worked hard to fight,
Yep.
right? The cap and invest programs, which would raise the cost of fuel. I mean,
Yes.
we still have a Global Warming Solutions Act in place that has to be repealed because it's driving all of this bad policy. And then,
Yes.
Mike, you came in and you introduced, I think it was 518.
518 was a repeal of the Climate Super Fund.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got the Clean Car and Truck Rule.
Yes, the Advanced Clean Car. Yeah.
Those you just named a number of statutes, a number of bills that need to be re-examined. So, ladies and gentlemen, we saw what balance or getting closer to balance in the Senate and the House up in Montpelier brought us.
Yes. But
Okay.
you're actually serving Vermont and Vermonters versus
Right.
attacking them with this type of policy
Right.
based off bogus predictive modeling.
Right. And
Yes.
we're talking about policies that are going to help us grow the economy, not necessarily harm the environment, because we have shown nationwide and statewide that we can do both.
Yes.
We can do both.
Right.
You know, we've talked about this before. It was brought up to me in the State House numerous times, last session and this session. No matter, every time you stick a shovel in the ground, there is a small level of environmental harm. The thing is, we need to look at the pros and the cons. If we actually want the population to grow, because we need young people to come in this state, to stay in this state, to raise their families here, because we're an older population. If we're going to change that, well, we need to change it by improving the economy,
Right.
improving the affordability
And
issues.
welcoming people here with that.
Absolutely,
Right,
we do.
right.
So these are the things that need to happen, and the policies that you just talked about all need to be re-examined. They need to be under the microscope day one, as soon as the next legislature is convened.
And I think it's important for people to understand, and some probably do, that these bills to scrutinize this, to repeal these, to amend these, to make them less destructive have been in there. But obviously the Republicans did not have
We
enough
didn't have the
power
numbers.
or the leadership to be able to do that. But those bills exist. And I
Yes.
just want to go back to your
Yes.
bill H518 because I think it's so
Yep.
important. I remember I wrote an article about this Climate Superfund years ago when VPIRG, Vermont Public Interest Research Group, was
Yep.
going around on tour promoting this.
Yep.
And to me, it was, again, back to this level of hypocrisy in the sense of our entire economies and lives, our cars, so much of what we use is based on this oil, this sort of fossil fuel industry, so to speak.
We have a petroleum-based economy.
We do
Nationwide.
have that.
We do,
Whatever we
worldwide.
think about it, whether
Yes.
we like it or not, that is the reality.
Yeah.
And so what are we going to do? We're going to try to now sue these companies that have sort of driven and brought us to the place we are. I mean,
How many people
just
came out
makes
of poverty
no sense.
because of affordable petroleum products?
Exactly. And look at what a country like India is trying to do. Not that I support the destruction that's going on there, but they're trying to bring themselves forward. And a lot of that goes back to energy policy.
Yeah,
Yes.
it does.
And
It
that's
does.
where I would think it was really good and really realistic for your bill to come forward to say, you know, what are we doing? This is just not the right approach. Yes, we want to reduce consumption. Yes, we want to focus on efficiency, but we can't attack Vermonters. We can't attack our environment. And we can't put this policy in place. And that's where I come back to, is that all of that policy is ultimately hurting families and hardworking Vermonters who are just struggling to make ends meet, trying to find balance in their life with work and play and family and living. And all of this policy, it just attacks.
Yeah.
And that's where it's getting back to, we got to repeal that stuff. That's the bottom line.
And honestly, and I keep saying this, and I'll keep saying it till we wind up having it. We need a good, better, best policy when it comes to energy.
Or in all of the above, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say Clara Morrison from Right for Vermont Foundation,
Yep.
she does a great job, and she sort of calls it that, all of the above. You know, like we need access, we
And
need
you know
diversity.
what's going to float to the top? The number one, the most viable and the most affordable.
Exactly.
And the best energy, the most energy dense right now that we know of is nuclear. You and I were talking about it, and hopefully
highly,
we'll get
highly
into it.
debated, right?
Hopefully
Right.
we'll get more into it, but SMR, small modular reactors.
Right, right.
They can, from what I've been reading, they can reuse what we classify as nuclear waste from our older nuclear power plants. So now here we go again now we're finding, because of technology, that what was waste now is recyclable.
If it's usable, right,
Right. So
right.
it can be depleted down more, while making energy. Over like a 5-year period that's what I think these things will go before they need to be refueled.
Well, then I had even seen some research on being able to remove some of these radioisotopes and potentially use them in,
Yes.
in cancer treatment.
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
the thing. Once it's it's waste or it's used up in an SMR, then it can be broken down into its
Individual
prospective part
components,
and,
right.
and reused again. So
Right.
it's recyclable again. And that's because of what? New technologies. So the state of Vermont needs to be looking down the road at what the possibilities for new technologies are. You know, I talked about this just the other day with someone at a gathering that my wife and I were invited to, and we were talking about this. And guess what came up? Data centers.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I said, if there was the misinformation, if you will. I hate that word, but the idea that the governor vetoed a bill and it's because he wants data centers. That's not what he said.
It wasn't what
And that's not
happened.
absolutely not.
Right.
And you and I have talked about this before.
And I just
The
recently
bill-
wrote an article
yeah.
on that, because what really
The bill that
ended
came
it.
out of the House was good. The bill that came out of
Exactly.
the Senate that was supposedly repaired was junk.
Total junk.
And that's why the governor...
And the bill in the Senate
repealed it.
ended up literally putting in an extortion
Yes.
fee, as well as a loophole for data centers to pollute.
Right. And
And
that's-
and they didn't fix that. It was
I-
very,
yeah.
very appropriate for him to veto that.
Yeah, and I felt like that needed to be brought up again because there's so much ire about that given toward the governor and everybody who voted to sustain the veto, and it's not justified because there's not all the information is not out there. So
And
I think
that's
the
the
more we
special
repeat
interest
it-
groups, unfortunately. And even, I hate to say it, but the
Yes.
Democratic Party and many special interest groups latched onto it and are taking advantage, as I wrote in my piece,
Yeah.
of people not having enough information of what the details were around this legislation.
Yeah.
Very, very unfortunate. Yes.
Yeah. So, but I just wanted to talk more about this article. Like I said, you can find it on Tom Shepstone, Energy Security and Freedom. It's on Substack. This article is dated, let me see if I can find it, June 11, 2026. There's a lot. If you are into the anti-hysteria climate policy, then it's a good Substack to
Yeah.
read because he always manages to bring common sense
Right.
in.
And sort of ground the conversation
yeah,
in
ground it.
reality. And the other thing that I want to say, and people may have seen this already, but down in Vernon, they have had somebody looking at potentially, I think they actually did sign a rental agreement. It was Texas-based power transitions at the old Yankee nuclear site.
Oh,
And
Vermont
so
Yankee, okay.
Yeah, so they've just signed, and they don't know what they're going to do. They say that it could be a battery storage facility for renewable backup. It could be possibly a data center. It could be a small modular reactor, nuclear reactor. So they're still like waiting to hear what is this company going to do. So if you can imagine, there's a lot of concern and
I would really, I am in favor of the small modular reactors. I think they will be they'll be the next iPhone. I really do believe that. They're so small that they can be made mobile. They, like you said, the material that's supposedly used up when they're done is not used up. It's reusable again. It can be broken down into its components. So,
and that's why I think people are also wondering, because I think there's like 68 casks of nuclear waste from the Yankee site that they're still trying to figure out what to do down there.
And there's not that much, but maybe it should stay there. It can be reused in an SMR, and it would be
Potentially.
really wonderful because in a state where we really are environmentally friendly, and we're all about recycling, it would be a great message to send to the rest of the world. Look, we found a way to recycle and make our energy much more affordable.
Right.
We've come to the end of the segment. We're going to have to bring this into the next segment, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Right Side Up. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Right Side Up. My name is Mike Taglavia. My co-host is Allison Despathy. All right, we're going to continue with energy policy because I think when it comes to energy policy, affordability is one of the things that energy most affects, and in a very negative way with respect to the state of Vermont.
Yes.
We have options that in the past decades we killed, bringing in, now not just us, but bringing into New England the natural gas pipeline that didn't make it across parts of New York State that would have been able to feed into Vermont would have been helpful in keeping our economy more affordable and cleaner, by the way, because natural gas is cleaner than coal and wood and some of the other things. Although we do have emerging technologies for wood burning that are much cleaner than some of the older methods.
But Mike, this makes me definitely think of the Renewable Energy Standard, which was another one that passed over the governor's veto. And I remember T.J. Poore, Director of Planning at the Department of Public Service, came in and he was just red flagging that. This is going to increase costs. I mean, we're looking at hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion of increased costs for Vermonters over the next 5 to 10 years if we do not repeal or severely amend that bill. I mean, it is incredibly dangerous what it's looking at, because that's the one that makes Vermont utilities, whether by 2030 or 2035, be completely renewable, which we know is bogus. Like that's it's not going to happen.
The beautiful thing about petroleum products is their own storage.
Yeah.
All you need is a storage tank. So if you get changes in weather, whether it's higher heat where you need AC, so you need more electricity, or you need more heat for heating your homes and schools and businesses, the storage of petroleum products is easier. It's instantaneous, where with renewables, whether it be wind power, which is definitely the worst when it comes to intermittence.
Right.
And solar, you need battery backup. And when the wind and the solar are not producing, the way they start to lose power is much faster. And our energy grid has shown that we don't have the adaptability to be able to know. Look what happened in Spain and parts of Europe.
When they just
a couple of years went boom, everything because of how quickly things went.
And if you're talking about
haywire.
Heat in like cold Vermont winters,
yes.
I mean, that is just high risk. We absolutely do not need that.
And more people die from cold than they do from heat.
Right. And this is where we know that because it's not base load power. Even this winter, the utilities ended up spending a ton of money because we needed gas and oil backup during some of the really, really cold snaps that we had. And because we
buying
don't have
it at the last minute
is
when it's the most expensive.
Exactly, because we're not in those longer term contracts where we get the better deal. So that was a really big hit.
And these are the things that when this legislation first got put through, none of this stuff was discussed.
And
What
they were
ifs?
trying, right? People were trying, but it was like, nope, this is the supermajority. This was the agendas. This was,
Yes.
a lot of the special interests who were literally writing and creating this policy. And it was like, oh, no, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to talk about these issues. We're not going to talk about it. And there were a few of us in there who were sort of trying to scream and say, you can't do this. This is not good policy. The governor
No.
vetoed it, but here we are. So that's definitely
Yeah.
a big one. And then the advanced clean car. Matt Walker, Chair Walker, he's a Republican from Swanton. He chairs House Transportation. He last session had people in from other states who were already going by this advanced clean car regulations on electric vehicles and how
Right.
many electric vehicles had to be sold to offset if someone bought a gas powered vehicle here in Vermont. And the other states, New York in particular, they were absolutely struggling with this that was
Oh, yeah.
enacted. Unfortunately, the governor ended up doing an executive order to extend this, but it's still sitting there ready to,
Yeah,
really ready to take
the
a hit.
executive order way is really a stopgap. We need the legislation.
Yes.
We need a bill or a reintroduction of a bill. Is probably what will happen.
Yes.
If we get more a larger taste of what balance really feels like.
Right. Because I think
get
we all
more
know
numbers.
that not everybody, electric vehicles don't make sense in many situations.
No, they don't.
Absolutely.
In
And
more
to force that on somebody is just unacceptable. And
For
that's
s-
what this is essentially doing.
Right. And
Yeah.
for simple commuter traffic, hybrids are better. You can make more of them than you can an EV with the raw materials that you need to make an EV. And this comes from the actual car company executives.
Yes.
So the hybrids are a better way to go, number one. Number two, we don't have the electric truck capability. We've already seen this past winter what that does.
Right. And we don't
Okay.
have the charging infrastructure.
We don't have the charging infrastructure.
Right.
So there are so many ways, and we've had subsidies for so many years. And this market, if it was really going to take off, it would have by now.
Yes. We can't force it.
No, you can't force it.
Right.
The consumer market doesn't want it. They're not crazed about it. Like I keep bringing up these electronic leashes, our smartphones.
Right.
The ones that were really, really popular didn't need subsidies. They
Like
just
they
needed more
bubbled
product.
to the surface because they're worthy.
Right.
Exactly.
People were lining up when the stores were closed to be next online to when they opened to be able to buy things. That was the exact opposite with the EV market, even
Yes.
though there were huge, massive subsidies. So we know after decades of this stuff being available that the market hasn't grown, the demand hasn't grown. The
Right.
big car manufacturers have taken billions in losses.
Yes, they're
They
still
have
trying to
EV
do the technology, and it's
Right.
just not there, or it's not affordable. And the other thing I think we have to think about with all this energy policy is how it hurts our small businesses.
Yes.
So how something like the Clean Heat Standard really is hurtful for our small fuel dealers,
Yes.
just trying to keep people warm and, supporting the people in their community with heating. And then you look at something like the Advanced Clean Car, and that was a really big attack on car dealers in Vermont
Yes.
because if they were to sell a gas car, they have to offset it by selling an electric. But if
certain
there's
number.
not the demand for electric, then guess what? They've got to buy clean car credits. And
Yeah.
who sells a lot of clean car credits? Well, every time Elon Musk ends up making a Tesla, he creates quote unquote clean car credits. So a lot of his actual profit comes from selling these clean car credits. So here we have this
okay.
other sort of credit scam in order to buy a gas car because
Right.
somebody needs that. Well, you got to buy now a clean car credit because you didn't sell an electric vehicle. It's like the most it's just distorted markets versus
Yeah.
just letting it be there, seeing what people need, let them come to that. That's just a basic respect
Yeah.
issue. Yeah.
No, I think I really feel like we're on the edge of really bringing the state around as far as affordability and bringing people back, taking those population numbers and turning them.
Yes. And I think all of that comes back to respecting and making sure choices are available for people.
Yeah.
Whether it is heat, whether it's car, whether it's food, whether it's medicine, whatever it might be, you do not mandate stuff. That is tyranny. Let's just
Yeah.
call it what it is.
Yeah.
Absolute tyranny. And we just need to make sure that people are supported and have access to choices.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what our energy policy in Vermont is currently not at, and what obviously many like yourself in the State House have been working towards.
We've been trying to, and again, getting the balance. We get the right number of people in the right committees.
Yes.
Then we will actually get affordability like Vermonters have been craving for a long time.
Right, right.
You know, if Vermonters have more money in their pocket, if their paycheck is bigger because there's for some reason there's one less tax,
Right.
or two or three less taxes,
Right.
which is what my hope is.
That's a
Then
huge goal
more
for all of
disposable
us.
income. They're gonna find, okay, let's do that renovation on the house.
Yeah,
or,
let's go on a trip, honey.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Something they'll find a reason
Right.
to take that extra money and spend it at a local business.
Right.
So it will go into the local economy.
And then they'll have, it's all about the balance, not just
Yes.
balance at the State House, but it's
Yes.
also life balance between work and play. I mean, I've got 3
Oh,
jobs
yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to take on a 4th one because I have to pay more taxes and bills.
Right.
So you guys
right.
better get back in there and make that happen. No pressure, Mike.
So
Yeah.
it's gonna be interesting. But I really believe after seeing the last 3 months of our session go the way they did with more civic engagement, that's really what it breaks down
That
to.
was amazing. It's been really incredible to see
know,
the changes and the shift.
the
And just
civic
imagine
engagement-
it's so much more.
I hope people realize, you know, this really doesn't need to be a one-off. It really doesn't. I think there are enough people found that, yeah, although they thought it was going to take a lot of time, it didn't take quite as much time, and the reward was pretty great.
Yes, it is huge.
So,
Yes.
you know, when
And are we
hopefully
still
enough
waiting
people,
for the governor to sign?
yeah, we're still waiting. I'm not sure
S325?
exactly what's going on. I was looking before we started recording this next.
Because that
this
was
next
obviously the Act
segment.
181 reform bill to get rid of Tier 2, Tier 3, which
Yeah,
were
and
definitely
the road rule.
invasion on property rights.
Yeah,
Yep.
because without that, it's still set to go into effect in July.
Right.
So, you know, the clock is ticking. I don't know. I'm not sure what the plan is. I know that the governor has a team of going through all the bills that are
Yes.
left with a fine-tooth comb to
Yes.
make sure that there's not something that was left out that was a major problem.
Right.
So I
So
hope
we'll
it's soon.
find out soon,
It would
definitely.
be nice if it was soon, but
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a method to their madness.
Right,
I'm
right.
not privy to what that is.
Right. But some of us are anxious. We
Oh,
want
yeah.
to see, definitely.
I got to tell you, I'm anxious, and I've gotten questioned about it. Mm-hmm. You know, in certain circumstances when I go around to find out. You know, and I see the question asked. It was asked this past weekend. Where is 325? And it's still, you know, it's waiting for the governor's signature was the
Right.
reply.
Right.
And I didn't have anything to add to it, so I just left it be. But it's true. Just
Yes.
waiting for the governor's signature.
Wait and see soon. We'll know soon,
So-
that's for sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll definitely know soon. But
Yes.
for some people, not soon enough.
I know, exactly.
I know there were people that were posting pictures of projects that they were getting started, you know, with an excavator parked on their land ready to go.
Can I do this now?
I've started my project. You can't tell me I can't do it now.
Right.
So, you know,
No road rule for me here.
we alleviated that issue. It's just a matter of hopefully another few days.
Yes.
But
And we'll see where that lands. And hopefully,
Yeah.
just wrapping up on the energy policy piece, just the really big thing is Renewable Energy Standard, Global Warming Solutions Act. Those significantly need to be either amended or ideally repealed.
Yeah.
So we can just get things back on track for Vermonters, because this is some of still the supermajority cleanup, so to speak.
Right.
And really, really hoping we don't. A supermajority is never good. I don't care what party. It's never a good thing. We need that balance in there. We need the conversations. Even if people don't want to talk, that balance is going to force the talking. And
yeah.
So we'll see what happens with the next election. It's going to be pretty fascinating. I don't know
Yeah,
what to
it
think.
will. And
Yeah.
I just hope it forces us more to deal with the most pressing issues.
Yes.
Because we had a lot of bills come through this past biennium, a lot.
Yes.
But it's very unfortunate that the lion's share of them didn't help with housing, didn't help with affordability, didn't help with public safety.
Right.
And those are in the forefront of everybody's mind.
Exactly.
They really are.
We can all get behind
So
that and
I
together.
I think, like you said, if we wind up with closer numbers, then those three will actually come to the surface as the priorities.
Yeah. And the affordability piece is something, regardless, even if someone is very partisan, it's just something that affects all of us.
It does.
So we have to come together on that. Absolutely.
It definitely affects all of us.
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming up on the end of another segment here. So I think we'll break it here. We're going to talk a little bit about health science next time.
Yes.
Well, so stay tuned for the next segment. We're going to go into another subject, but it's a subject that definitely needs a little bit of a let's call it a renaissance as well.
Yeah, that's definitely perfect.
We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Right Side Up. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Right Side Up. My name is Mike Taglavia. My co-host is Allison Despathy. Before we get into our next subject, rightsideupradio@gmail.com if you would like to send us a message. If for some reason you can't catch us on WNTK Radio, you can find us on WNTK.com by finding the podcast button, clicking on it, scrolling down to Right Side Up, and you'll be able to listen to any number of our podcasts at any time of the day or night. And you can find us also on Podbean. You can find us on 802 Scoop Facebook, 802 Scoop YouTube, and at our friends on granitegrok.com. So the next subject I'd like to talk to you, Allison, about is a little bit about science.
Yes.
And science covers a lot of things. It's going to cover the energy, but there's also science with respect to our health,
Yes.
human health, and the health of the animals we produce in this country and worldwide for our own consumption.
Yep.
But I think this subject is for our own health. So I saw this article originally in another publication. It was in Imprimis, but I saw that Vermont Daily Chronicle picked it up.
I know, that
So
was great.
That
That
was
was
great.
great,
So I figured
definitely.
if they picked it up, we should cover it here.
Yep.
So
No,
why don't
he's
you
one
go
of my
ahead with it?
favorites. This is
Yeah.
Jay Bhattacharya,
Yep.
and he is the director at the National Institutes of Health. And I was first introduced to him and his work during COVID,
Right.
when he signed on and was one of the founders of the Great Barrington
Yes.
Declaration.
And I didn't meet him. I met one of the other signers, Dr. Martin Kuldorf.
Yes, I met him as well, fortunately. Yeah, amazing people. And they got together and they basically said, whoa, 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 what are we doing? We can't do these mandates. You can't force this on people.
They were basically trying to be science-based.
Yes, let's really look at it. Let's
Yeah.
have a conversation. It's okay if we disagree, but let's be honest and have our
Absolutely.
scientific dispute. That's at the
Our
core.
back and forth. Yeah, have our
Yes,
discussion.
Exactly.
This is why I believe what I believe.
Yes, and this is where, he has a long article, but I just want to really read this first paragraph as a starting point. I think he
Okay.
just did such a wonderful job. I have so much respect for him. So he says in his article at the beginning here, at the root of the scientific revolution was the idea that there was not and should never be a scientific authority. For centuries, a small number of ecclesiastical powers had decided such questions as whether the moons of Jupiter move. The scientific revolution placed these questions in the hands of a lot of very smart scientists, including those with telescopes. Unfortunately, we find ourselves back in a situation today, as demonstrated a few years ago by the COVID lockdowns, mask mandates, and vaccination requirements, where a relatively small number of people directors of government agencies like the National Institutes of Health, heads of international agencies like the World Health Organization, and editors of prestigious journals have the power to say what is true or false in science. That is so dangerous.
It's very
They
dangerous.
shut down the dispute. They shut down the conversation. They censored anyone who was pushing back or questioning or offering an alternative path. This is where you had doctors like Peter McCullough, coming
Yep.
forward. I don't know if you know his
Oh,
work.
yeah, I know exactly who he is.
He was in
Yeah.
Texas coming up with how do we treat this, and they were not letting him put his information out there. He was censored.
Yeah.
That's what brought him.
Well, there were
into
a lot
this
of people
space.
censored, and if they were not quiet, if they weren't,
Right.
they didn't kowtow to the censorship. They were deplatformed. They were fired.
They lost jobs.
Dr. Martin Kulldorff lost his job at Harvard, I believe.
Exactly. Yep.
So because he questioned.
Yes,
And
that is
science
such
is all about
It
questioning.
has to be always.
Yes.
We think we know things, and so many times we're wrong. And
Yeah.
at the heart of science is that debate. And it's about studies, and it's about reproducing studies, and it's about peer review, true peer review, and
Yeah.
trying to prove something wrong. I mean, we know that. It's literally this, ongoing struggle for truth. And to claim that you have it, and then to force your truth on somebody else, and to not allow someone to question that or decide for themselves, that was at the heart of the problem. And Mike, I just want to say real quick, I was never politically engaged. I was literally
Well, there was
raising...
there was a time when I wasn't.
That's hard to
believe it or not.
imagine,
Yeah,
right?
It is.
But I was raising my children, homesteading, homeschooling, doing my job, working and
Right.
living in Danville. And when this happened, because I have a nutrition practice
Right.
in St. Johnsbury, that's my degree. I teach at the Vermont State Colleges 25 plus years. And then as soon as this happened, I was just blown away. What are they doing? What are you mandating? What are you telling people they need to do? How come this is being censored? And
Right.
so that launched me into this realm of policy. And I haven't turned around, because then you start to open your eyes and look at other things,
Well-
and you're like, well, what are they talking about?
Right.
Right,
Yeah. No.
but-
There was a lot that opened my eyes.
Yes.
During that period of our history.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one period in our history that is going to be examined for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And the advantage of hindsight,
Yes.
hopefully affords us the ability to learn a lot.
Yeah, to have wisdom moving forward,
Yes.
where you just
I
don't
really,
do this.
Yeah, I really
Yeah.
hope that's what happens.
I know, because
And-
I have in my practice over 200 people who I work with who are vaccine injured, as
Right.
well as families who have lost children to vaccines. So
really?
this is very near and dear to my heart, and where to put mandates on this and to shut down the science and the debate and the conversation is just incredibly dangerous to humanity.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I can't seem to find the article now, but I know in the article he talked about younger scientists.
Yes.
And how it's gone from the younger scientists years ago being in their 30s
Mm-hmm.
to now scientists don't actually get research grants until they're in their 40s. And
Yes.
he talked about how he wanted to change that back to when scientists were in their earlier years, because of how much more inquisitive they were and how much more willing they were to question.
Yes, and they had
and more
good
open to-
ideas, he
yes.
said, exactly.
Yes, they were more open to other ideas and more possibilities.
They may have not been so sort of indoctrinated in a thought process.
Right,
Or like a
right.
way
Thinking
of
outside
thinking
the
about
box.
something. Exactly. So he was trying to really encourage that, and also trying to open it up. There's, I think he said, about 20 institutions who receive a good chunk of the funding that National Institutes of Health puts forward for this scientific innovation and discovery
Right.
and research. And he said he was wanting to open it up. There's so many good scientists, and he just wants to make sure that scientists of all ages with good ideas have access to this funding. Because NIH, National Institutes of Health, as he pointed out, I mean, they are looking for innovation in health. How do you cure
Yes.
diseases? How do you prevent diseases? So it's he seems like he really wants to bring science back, so to speak.
No, I was very encouraged when I read the article.
Yes, definitely. Me as well. Yeah.
I saw it a couple of weeks ago, and there's so many subjects that we could possibly cover. The problem is there's just never enough time.
No, I know. But I
So-
think just bringing this forward and just shining a light on what happened during COVID and how you had so many amazing scientists, amazing lawyers, people from all sorts of professions coming together saying, wait a minute, we've got to talk about what we're doing here. What is the deal with these vaccines? What is the deal with these mandates? Is this really the right way to go? Absolutely not. You don't force this stuff on people.
Yeah.
So I think that finally these people are coming through, and really to see Jay Bhattacharya in the position of director for National Institutes of Health, I mean,
Yeah.
that's just amazing.
Yeah.
Really.
Another doctor who came out and was begging basically for the opportunity for alternative approaches to treatment during that time was Dr. Pierre Corey.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Phenomenal.
So I remember seeing him testify before Congress
Yeah.
and watching him and thinking, wow.
Yes.
You know, I mean, he was bringing the numbers, and it didn't matter.
Right.
It didn't matter. It was like the science was on a rail. They knew the powers that be knew where they wanted to go, and they were not open to any alternatives.
No, you were just shut down. And that's
Yeah.
where Aaron Siri, who's a lawyer who litigates on vaccine injury, he has written a book called Vaccines Amen, because he basically was pointing out, like, this has become a religion versus science, and we need to get back to the science of this. We need to look at the research behind it. We need to look at if things are safe and effective. And I think that that's where when the COVID injections came out, it was like, basically, wait, they don't stop you from getting it, and they don't stop transmission. And then it turned into the story about, oh, well, they'll just reduce your severity. And it's like, well, how do you know that? Because some people had it mildly, some people had it severely, you know, so there was just a lot
Well,
of...
the changing narrative, and the narrative changed well after the onset.
Yes.
And well after, I mean, the narrative started to change months after the initial walkout of the vaccines,
Yes.
and that was what people had a problem with, because okay, you told us this to be able to get to where the vaccines were offered everywhere.
Right. Like
And
these were
now
going
all
to
of
be
a sudden,
safe and
right.
effective.
And
right.
now people started to ask questions. They started to show possibilities for other treatments, for alternative treatments.
Right.
And turns out those alternative treatments would have negated the need for a vaccine, because the vaccine only came out because of, what was it, emergency
authorization use, yes.
So the further along we got, with more people, thanks to this wonderful thing called the internet, more people started to read and do their own research and find people, scientists, doctors, immunologists, attorneys,
Yes.
people who were wondering why there wasn't documentation when the vehicle for documentation existed for years.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, this vehicle for documentation, the VAERS system, was not being used.
Yes. That's the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. And numbers were skyrocketing. I work with a lot of people who are severely vaccine injured from the COVID vaccine at this time.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's very sad. But yeah, exactly. I think a lot of this conversation got shut down, and also obviously people were mandated to do this, and people need to keep jobs, you know, and
Well,
I think
yeah,
that was
and-
like a horrible part of the situation, that, you know, even if you had it, or, you know, you had natural immunity, or you were healthy and you were okay.
Well, natural immunity got pushed to the wayside.
Oh yeah, it was like it doesn't even
It was
count
pushed
anymore.
aside.
Right.
You know, we were talking about, and when they first started talking about, you know, how contagious this was and everything else, natural immunity was talked up very good.
That's always the gold standard. Exactly.
Right. And young people, because of their ability to heal so quickly,
Right. Strong immune
systems, the young people we were told that the young people were our savior. They were
Yes.
going to help us with with natural immunity, and because of their ability to
fend off this
disease, and to be able to recover so quickly that as the disease replicated itself, to prevent it being totally eradicated, it becomes less and less harmful.
Right. But then fear and propaganda absolutely took hold.
And the fear took over.
Yes.
And people who liked being able to get people to do things out of fear,
right,
really, they took this country, I think, in a bad place.
Yes. And there's
They really
obviously
took
been
this country to
lawsuits,
a
and
bad
many
place.
have won the lawsuits now on these COVID mandates, and people who refuse to do that and lost jobs.
Yeah, and we talk about freedoms, and not just in this country, but in this state. And okay, let's apply it to these as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, since we're in 2026 and we know the science that we know, and we have the ability to look back historically and see the numbers and how they work. What was it? Cochrane did their
the Cochrane
mask
studies.
study.
Yes.
There was 17,000 people in that study, and they came up with the masks.
No,
They
weren't,
had
I know. And look at our children who
They
are
didn't-
struggling
they didn't
because
work.
of that. Right.
So they were a massive waste of time and money.
Yes.
And look what they did to our kids.
Exactly, and they're still trying
You
to
know,
recover.
and
And then
that-
I
that
look at
practice.
something even like the Johnson & Johnson shot, with some people who were not comfortable with the mRNA because of the new technology, and this is
Right.
literally a gene therapy technology.
Yes.
But I would
We
say
didn't
that
know.
no, exactly. And the J&J, the Johnson & Johnson, is now off the market because of blood clots.
Right.
So much for safe and effective. But so happy to see him trying to have the conversation of let's
Yes.
make sure we're doing
Yeah,
real
that's
science.
why I thought it needed to be brought up. so.
Definitely.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of another show. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Remember, stay safe, stay informed, listen to Right Side Up.